Would you please put your first take? What are the latest informations you have regarding the international issues going on you are following?
The international news I've been following recently is I've been really looking into the Nepal, what's going on in Nepal regarding the movement. And right now, I really like how there's a new administration that came up. She said she's going to be here for 6 months, or so she says. So let's see how that progresses. I'm really excited to see Nepal's new movement. And I'm excited to see how, because I'm also comparing that to our country's movement. Since we are not there, well, our leaders haven't really spoken about the next election, and we are still delayed on that. Nepal has taken quite decisive action, and they're moving quite faster at our rate. Like, even though their revolution was slower, their progress in political movements and activism is quite faster. So I'm really interested to see how that will pan out, because even though it was taken in a quick decision, it might always not be the best idea to ever move. So I'm really excited to see about
You raised a very comparative study, I think. Nepal followed Bangladesh to go for the Genghis movement, but Nepal is in a progressive mood to go for the election so fast in 6 months. But in Bangladesh, we have almost crossed 13 months, no election is yet
and
clear.
No decision of when the next date is.
Exactly. Ahmed Alvi, what is your opinion regarding the support to Israel to attack so many countries in Middle East? Which countries are, compared to Israel, larger, stronger, richer and united as well?
I think, well, thank you for the question. Well, the countries they attacked, I feel like alone, they don't really pose a threat to Israel. And it's not because of the size, or I would say the population, or even the geological location. I would say it's mainly because Israel's technological advancement is just far superior than, let's say, all the 6 countries that they have bombed. And in the Middle East, there's a certain, well, there's no unity, to be honest, as in to care for their neighbors. In Europe, or as you know, we have talked about the allies, US and the allies, they would comparatively have more in communication and more support of one another. But the Middle East is itself quite, not destabilized, but I would say it's quite autonomous when it comes to each other, when it comes to their neighbors. And I feel like Israel would take it, it's an advantage, it's easier when your enemies are not united. So I think they would take advantage of this. And countries like Saudi Arabia and other countries won't really be involved because of their ties, economic ties to other countries. So even if these countries are small, I feel like because of the political situation of those countries, there's less they can do in the global atmosphere.
Mr. Ahmed Alvi, you are hearing Mr. Norman Floyd Barnes. He is our geopolitical correspondent based in Washington, D.C. What is your counter comment on him?
I would, apologies. I would actually add to it, and maybe there's some counter to it as well. Thank you for the question. The question is might right when you think of in a global scale? Because let's say Israel is doing what they are, backed up by US, Russia is doing what they can, and clearly North Korea is accelerating. Is the global understanding right now, is might right? Are you in the right because you have more nuclear weapons, you have more better communication, better infrastructure? Like Israel has the Iron Dome, for example. That is one of the best defense mechanisms in the entire world. Question is, nobody in the Middle East has anything even remotely as advanced. So is the question is, are we exercising our military strength, even in defensive capabilities, to show that we deserve more just because we have the power to achieve it? And is that what the world is eventually going to in the chain reaction, as Mr. Norman has said? Because it is all related. There's no singular events. For every time Russia or North Korea would accelerate there, it's due to because they have, in their opinion, they can defend the point. Look at Israel. They're doing it. they're having a genocide. Why can't we exercise our military might? Israel is launching, 6 countries, 72 hours? We're attacking one country. And North Korea would say, we're increasing our strength. This could even be put as a defensive understanding, in their opinion, from their viewpoint. So I think the global understanding right now is Gen Z is doing their movement from protest, from what they can, from the lack of power, from the bottom up, right?
And against corruption.
Against corruption, right? But the problem is, in major countries, right, like Israel or the Russias, or even China, right? Can Gen Z actually ever have a movement to topple up those autocratic type governments, right? The Netanyahu regimes, the Putin's regime, the Kim Jong-un's regime. Now that question has to be further evaluated and understood.
Ahmed Alvi, do you have any addition in this perspective? Our international affairs commentator is putting his comments on this.
I would really like to add on to the Venezuela point, and as well as what's going on in the Middle East, right? Donald Trump is a demagogue. And basically what that means is he will do whatever it is to look good in the public's eye. Now, clearly the meetings that was held between him, Zelensky, Putin, that did not go well. Now he has to get a win somewhere else. And if he can't get that to Middle East, he'll try to shift the focus again. Now maybe he's trying to pull up all these warships, all these cannons to take out a fly, as my colleague said, because to show his might, to show we as an America are doing what's right for the country. And when they can't, they have to move on to another point. In my opinion, it's as simple as that.
So I want to get back your opinion on Nepal issue. You know, the Gen Zs has demanded the collapse of the government. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has fled from Nepal. New interim government of 3 members with a respectable omen in the power, and she declared very openly in a national television speech that she is going to organize a credible and acceptable election in 6 months. But Gen Zs again are in the street to protest for her resignation. How do you see demand after demand? Someone has to allow someone to accomplish the job.
Thank you for the question. I agree. And the thing I like about the Gen Z, the society that has these uprisings, also thing I don't like about them is quite similarly the same. They're too active to some extent. And sometimes to run a country, you need a certain level of patience to understand progress. And maybe they are right. Maybe she might not be the right person for the job. But then again, they also have to decide who is. You can't just declare someone unfit without understanding that if there is a fit person at all to take control of. Who would take control of the country? Because if there's no leader, ultimately that would just be total chaos. That's anarchy. You need a leader, even let's say if it's a bad leader. Like, when you take out a leader, it leaves instability across a region, any region. That has been throughout history.
Country as well.
That's the general aspect. So now maybe she's not the right leader, but as long as she's there for 6 months, I feel like let's see what she can do. If the next 6 months doesn't pan out, then they get to have their say again, right?